We're ready.
Very clear.
Good evening, all. It's 6:30 and welcome to our Parks Advisory Board meeting. First thing is roll call, pledge first.
Roll call.
Wow.
Mr. Colaszo,
Present.
Mr. Lykoff,
Here.
Ms. Rosenbaum, here, Ms. Seiler, absent, Ms. Peliquin,
Here.
Ms. Moore, absent, Mr. Turco, Mr. Eckstein.
Here.
Ms. Oglesby.
Here.
Ms. Coetzee, absent, Ms. McGill. And Chair Gunter.
I'm here.
You have a forum.
Okay, so we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did everyone receive a copy of the minutes by email? Anybody have a chance to review them? Yep. Motion. Discussion. Was there any concerns, edits, or?
I do have a clarification I want to make over here. 'Cause I know that this topic's going to be ongoing for a little while. I had made a mention about, I think Enrique Sanchez had made some preliminary drawings, and it states here that the renderings seem there, we didn't receive the official renderings, I'm trying to say. And it says here that we did. So I should probably just make a clarification.
Item, I'm sorry.
It's on the second page. Of the minutes, it says Mr. Colaszo spoke about Sunrise Middle School and noted that renderings have been completed. That is not accurate. The renderings have not been completed. We just got some preliminary renderings from Enrique Sanchez that was kind of done off the cuff. So I just want to go on the record saying that we did not actually get renderings yet. That's it for me.
Any other concerns with the minutes?
Not about the minutes, just about the title.
What?
Title property.
But
Okay.
Am I supposed, you can't hear.
Sorry. I asked about the tunnel top, but we'll talk about it.
oh yeah, that's not, all right. So can I get a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving as edited?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None heard. The minutes carried forward with the edits moved by Mr. Colaszo. That's it. We'll move to department update.
All right, good evening, everyone. We've been out for a little while, so it's good to see everyone and hope everybody enjoyed their summer. As you know, we finished up our summer on the 11th, our summer camp program on the 11th of August. As I mentioned in a previous discussion, this is the first summer where we had a full camp, meaning we didn't have this number since COVID. So it was good to bring that back to its normalcy. And a few things that are coming up this month, or rather next month, which is our pre-Labor Day event that we have on the Gulf. That's September 3rd from 2 to 10. It's a family fun event. Come on out if you have some time and want to check out some of the shops there as well. And with the first Sunday of every month, minus July, of course, is Jazz Brunch. The 15th of September, we've got our first one of the fiscal year, the last Carter Park Jams of the fiscal year of Carter Park Jams. And then on the 29th of September at our Fort Lauderdale Aquatic Center, we have a championship meet, a swim meet rather, with St. Thomas and Kaiser University. So that'll be taking place, I believe that's from 8 till about midday. So feel free to come on out to the aquatic. And that's really the updates that I have that I wanted to share today.
Carl, I have a question about the pool. I always have a question about the pools. I'm a little concerned that the deck is starting to, there's a lot of pitting going on the deck. Where Hensel Phelps actually painted the deck gray, which created a slipping. It's very, we all complain about it because you can easily slip if you walk too fast on the deck. But more importantly, there's a lot of areas, there's pitting in the paint. So it's all coming out, coming on, and it just looks terrible. Not to mention the fact that with some of the, what do you call it? The guards that, the handrails to get out of the pools, it's all rusting. We haven't been in the pools. I mean, we haven't been in the pool a whole year. So my concern is, what is this pool facility going to look like in 10 years? If it's already starting to deteriorate now with all the money that we have spent. My other concern is, why would they install those wonderful water fountains that save energy, save from using plastic, so we can refill our water bottles and they not be refrigerated? The water is warm as a bathtub, so it's not. Nobody's using water fountains because the water is just too warm to drink from. I mean, it's literally baking in the sun. So it's not a useful tool. I just don't understand why we would order water fountains that aren't refrigerated. That isn't refrigerated water. It's an easy fix.
No, and point taken, I'll look into the water fountain because I wasn't aware of that, but I'll look in to see what's going on with that.
I mean, I was at practice the other day and I ran out of water, and one of the coaches filled up my cup with water.
It's hot.
It was gross. It was literally like drinking out of a bathtub. Nobody wants to drink like
You could
that.
make hot tea out of it. I
You
made
could-
the
you
same
could
mistake
make-
one
You
day. It's
literally
like,
could make hot tea out of it. That's how warm it is.
Yeah, I'll need to check into that because that shouldn't be.
But the deterioration of the deck and the rust.
So the deck we're aware of, and Hensel Phelps is going to address that. Because matter of fact, Laura and I had a conversation, I want to say it was last week, about the deck. Because there's actually a couple of things
There's a
that,
lot of things.
that have to be revisited.
Mhm.
So they're aware of it and they're gonna make steps towards to address it.
And then the other thing is that apparently some air conditioning work was done last week, and we can't open up the bathroom doors anymore because they're so. Something happened.
Was
when
it
you
the
were-
pressure?
It's literally like you have to like dig your feet in and you have to like
Right.
yank it. So it's just terrible.
Something with the Dutch or something.
I mean, I have to like, when I want to leave the locker room, I have to lean this way and like try and push my way
It's
out.
kind of scary.
It is
Like,
kind
oh
of
my
scary.
God, I'm not gonna get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Young child may not be able to see.
Right. Okay, we're looking for it.
Thank you.
I have a question on the pool. Are you starting to charge for the pool now?
They started
So,
charging.
okay,
We're charging.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they started charging. Yeah, they started charging.
Wait, are we allowed to ask questions yet? Okay, good. I have a question about Holiday Park. I heard from a not very reliable source, kind of third hand, that besides the Panther Arena and where the parking garage is going, that some other structure is going to be built in the park. Are you familiar with that at all? Okay, and possibly somebody wants to put on top of the parking garage a heliport, or it's called a vertiplex. Have you heard that at all?
So I haven't heard any of that.
Okay,
That's new.
somebody said that to me. I go, those neighborhoods around there will lose their minds if somebody does that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just probably not but I have one other thing. The design for Lockhart Park. Our Commissioner District 1, Commissioner Herbst is working very hard. He can take it to the commissions, but I said, it'd be really smart to get it to this board before the people could look at it and comment on it and maybe approve it or, support it or maybe not. But I thought it's just something to consider for our September meeting. I'm sure you don't have it yet, but it might be very last moment.
Yeah, so, and that's actually one of the challenges back when Carrie was here. So like the signature projects don't necessarily go through the board. However, I can inquire about that to see what that rendering looks like so that we can share it with the board.
But we did get a look at that. We got the original
Well, it's
drawing.
like the original, but there's like there's
Changes,
pickleball
yeah.
courts on it.
Yeah, but we don't have it right.
No, right. You just get to look at it.
Really, we never send a letter of support. Haven't we ever done that before?
You have approved money, designs, that type of thing. It's really just semantics, because we did bring holiday parks here before, and but as a body, you just don't necessarily have, the protocol doesn't necessarily have to go.
It seems,
Signature
Wrong.
project.
It
Signature
doesn't
project.
seem right.
So remember we dealt with it Hilltop.
Hilltop, we had a presentation, we voted on that.
Oh, yeah. They wanted extra money.
We did.
On the aquatic center, they were asking for additional funds to adapt.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
So as long as there's no,
That's where I
there's a
got definitely
change.
got angry about the fact that they wanted to put the tower up before they wanted to fix the south building. Because the south building was clearly needed to be refurbished just like everything else.
Okay,
Well, maybe absent like a request for funding or approving funding, I mean, we might be able to do a communication to, hopefully present some urgency and moving forward with. I mean, that Lockhart thing was, I remember, I think when I first joined the board, we were talking about it now a few years ago.
well, yeah, it's been a debacle.
Stalled out, yeah, so. I
Okay,
mean,
well, I
Yeah,
just
there's
didn't,
been some changes as you all.
mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, is it in line in the city commission meetings to be addressed or? is
Lockhart as a
it-
whole, yeah.
I mean, that's all.
Commissioner Herbst is at the top. We're trying to spearhead that project to.
Is it getting hung up with City Hall or is it
No, it's
negotiations with the?
what he's done is he said, okay, I'm no longer wait for Inter Miami to,
Okay,
they paid the whole thing with the parking and we're gonna
Yes.
not let them park and then Inter Miami paid what I think the permit fees of 1.6 million. Okay, now you can use the parking, but he goes, we're going to move forward with the design of the park. It has to go through a couple of iterations. The commission, he wants to get that going and he goes, whether they pay or not, we're gonna do it and then try to get the money out of them. Best case
Yeah.
scenario, worst case scenario, I should say. So, all right, I just wanted to get a heads up. That's all I have.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so we're complaining about everything. The beach volleyball courts. So the guy that takes care of them has told me that a lot of the cables are starting to break. And whoever his contact is, we're sort of, like, when you fix them, you have tournaments here, so your people are breaking them. So you're responsible for fixing them, and I mean, he has a couple tournaments a year. That's not who's breaking the nets. The net, I mean, there is wear and tear, but it's usually, it's usually tourists or people that don't play volleyball that you always see hanging on the nets and pulling on the nets.
So you're saying that the nets themselves need to be replaced or?
Yeah, well, there's some that need to be replaced and, or not the nets, the cable that goes into the net. So
Okay.
they were putting that responsibility back on the contractor that takes care of the courts.
There was
And he
a,
thought that was pretty unfair and
Wasn't there a volleyball camp this summer there too? Also?
They do pull all those down for the concerts there too, I think.
Full-time
We have to take them all down and then put them back up.
Right,
Unless
so, yeah,
they're-
so this
Yeah.
guy is contracted
We
to
didn't.
come and take it all down and store it and then bring it back and put it
Yeah.
back up.
Okay. I'll understand.
Okay,
One more. I've heard from some people that the pickleball rules aren't being followed the same in all the parks.
They aren't.
They are not. I do not know the details, nor do I have a solution, but
You're talking about rules
What
for the
kind
game
of
or for
rules?
using the
Right.
pickleball court?
like for how to use, like, because I know it, my understanding is at Holiday, it's 4 on, 4 off in the mornings. In the court at night, apparently at sunrise, nobody follows that, but at George English, they don't follow that at all.
So, yeah,
So I don't know if
the
there's a way to
rules
teach
themselves have been challenging, and our position has kind of been that the public kind of has to police that themselves. Because similar to like a basketball court that we have out, because once we start to get in the middle of that, we'll never win.
I think
But
the best
that's
thing
been
is
happening for a
providing the
while.
courts for them to use, so they better follow the rules, otherwise, hey,
Yeah, please.
please it yourself, exactly.
or are they even posting?
They
They're
are.
posted, yeah.
We're
I
supposed to-
think the same rules are posted at each one, so it
Mhm.
doesn't make sense that they all have different ways of following.
Okay.
How is the tunnel top going?
It's a great question.
I didn't hear the question. How is what, Julie?
Tunnel top.
Oh, okay. I'll back to that.
You're gonna get that question.
It looks like it's getting close.
Getting close, but.
Yeah,
it's
still not
about
over.
8 months behind, right?
And the last update I had is that it was going to be close to completion towards the end of the summer, and we're towards the end of the summer, and there's still some work that
There's,
needs to
yeah,
be
there's,
done.
it's,
So
It's last week, November,
I figured just in time for the season.
we done last September.
Right.
Christmas on All Souls.
Oh, hopefully. First Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Was tunnel top include tunnel bottom? Is
Oh,
That's a whole different ballpark.
that's not us.
God, that's
That's Epcot.
traffic botchery here,
You really haven't even finished one side.
Yeah.
It's been what, 3 years, almost 3 years?
yeah, almost 6.5.
You know, it's still faster than waiting for a bridge. I'm sorry. I was just over there the other day. I was like, it's not, why did I go over the bridge?
Yeah, I think it's been terrible.
Avoid it,
Just
just avoid it.
Sometimes you gotta go there.
Yeah.
Carl, I have a question about Jimmy Everett.
Okay,
And
what?
what's going on with
That aside.
the extra, like I guess the management, right? Is it, and what does that entail? And then what are you looking into? Because I think people have questions and it's like, I don't think that people have the same definition.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways I want to answer this. I can't get into a lot of detail about it because it needs to go to the commission, go through that process, but the purpose of the RFP was to basically see what's out there, what opportunities the city has for a company to come in and manage the facility. There's been a lot of questions and concerns about the facility becoming privatized and that type of thing. So that's not the case. The facility will remain open to the public. There won't be a reduction of court time or use. Simply to see if there's an organization out there that can operate it and run it and also provide a contribution to the city as a part of that. So that process hasn't been completed yet, but once it does, it'll go before our commission if there is a desire to move forward in a specific direction.
Okay, and by management, you mean like I think Pompano is managed by an outside, if I remember right. I think, like, is that what you're meaning, or you just mean like the upkeep and like the overall?
Turnkey, which
everything.
is the maintenance as well as the operational side of it.
Okay. Yeah.
I did hear that Snyder Park is gonna go ahead with this whole cap hours. I left at 6:40 and I'd gotten there at, 1:30.
Oh, didn't they postponed it till 6 o'clock?
Well, no, that's how long the conference
Yeah.
meeting took.
Oh, my
That was
God.
a pretty packed agenda.
It was terrible.
Is there a lot of opposition to it?
Oh, there were a lot of people in there that were really unhappy. I didn't hear them. I kind of wanted to. I wasn't gonna say anything, wasn't, not. But I wanted to hear what they were gonna say and I didn't because I want to go home.
Yeah.
No, in the future, you can also watch it on.
I know, I do know that, but I kind of like to go. And I guess the regular, were you there? You were there, were you? The regular meeting went to like 12:30.
So the regular meeting I did not go to, but I was there for most of the conversation during the conference. And,
Did they get really bad? They were mad, weren't they? Had to be mad anyway.
yeah.
But
Not a good situation.
huh?
Not a good
It's
situation.
not a good situation. But they are gonna be built with 42 pickleball courts for all you guys that like to play pickleball. I could care less about pickleball, but I know a lot of people like it. And a clubhouse and a little restaurant, and a
Yeah.
concert. It's kind of a shame, really.
The residents in the area who live adjacent to it are not thrilled.
Yeah, for some reason, they did not know about it. They all say they didn't know, like the,
You'd have to have your head.
well,
in the sand.
know,
You have to have
you
your head
knew-
in the
did you
sand
know
not
about
to know.
I heard about it when they came here, but I was like, well, that's far away from me and I don't really, other than doing butterfly work in the butterfly garden, I don't really go there.
One other thing, a positive thing, was that I noticed we have police officers now on the beach, at ATV.
We used, several years ago, we purchased some segways and our park rangers used to use them. But now, yeah, police are there with their
On the beach, actually on the beach. Hopefully that'll be positive and keep people from getting carried away. And maybe actually adhere to some of these rules and regulations we're about to go over.
And speaking of police presence, I don't think we have a police officer anymore at the park on Riverland. The preserve, is that
correct.
accurate? Okay,
But I heard something from Enrique the other day. I ran into him,
last week.
yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Because the city's rebuilding the police station, they're looking to use it as a local substation during the construction of the police station.
okay.
But they're still looking for an officer to live in that house.
So what happened with, did the term just end for the officer that was previously
Yeah,
there?
He was there 3 years, I think.
Okay.
3 years.
We also have an officer at MRT as well,
At where?
in Middle River Terrace,
Oh,
the Annie Beck House.
okay,
But over time, depending on how long they intend to stay.
Mhm.
they-
okay.
It's been a good thing having it.
Oh, yeah.
And some people would wonder why we couldn't turn it into a community center. It just money to upgrade it to ADA requirements, that house would have been $250,000-300,000.
Yeah,
Any other questions for Carl? Item 2. is Carl Wood.
So, as you know, we're still kind of moving forward with the bond and similar to a couple other projects they brought in the past. We are applying for a grant application to leverage some funding for Oswald Park. And as part of the process to apply for this grant, it needs to go before the board. There's no formal vote that's required, but it needs to be mentioned and stated in notes, minutes, that it was mentioned to you, and that is it. So I kind of wanted to share that, so we're in compliance, and hopefully we'll have some luck in the review process with this grant.
Are there any specifications of what that 200,000 is actually going towards specifically? Or?
Yes, it's to go towards outdoor improvements of Oswald Park. So Oswald has like about 1.7 million that's allocated to it. There's some lighting and signage, fitness equipment. We actually just painted in our rooftop basketball courts. And so this funding for 200,000 will help do some of those upgrades.
Will we then get a credit back in bond?
It's a grant.
Yeah, so that'll be 200,000 less. That'll
We have
be
to
your
get
next bond, yeah.
Awesome.
And we're actually trying to do this as much as we can because this climate of construction is worrisome. And so, we're trying to look at everything we have, but it also is part of that is that there's not a whole lot of money of people giving and grants giving either. So we're trying to do the best we can and see if we can extend some of these dollars so that, as we move through this here bond process, we can have some more money to finish adding to some of these projects that are being reduced.
Any other discussion regarding item number 2?
Goes through.
To item number 3, the proposed revision of Parks and Recreation rules discussion. Did everybody get a?
Yes.
Yep.
So this particular item, we know we've mentioned this in the past, and we've had some of your feedback and some of our staff feedback, and so we wanted to bring this back to the board again to review and hear some of your comments, and then at the next meeting or so, move for a motion. But this point is just conversational to hear some of your thoughts on the edits made here.
And the edits make sense. I have a tiny comment on a comma that's moving. But yeah, I think very straightforward. So it would be item 7.4. And then M, if I'm reading it correctly, I think there should be a comma between go-karts and moped. No altering vehicles, comma, golf carts, comma, go-karts, comma, moped.
And then motorized. Says for motorized.
Yeah, or motorized, probably vehicles is missing.
Oh, okay.
It should say vehicles or some, whatever they want to say, but motorized vehicles, the word.
Probably motorized personal vehicles. Because they're talking about golf carts, go-karts, mopeds. Motorizing, something could be even, what do you call it? Thing that Carl was just talking about.
Segways.
The Segway,
Oh. Yeah,
I don't know.
if you get a segue on the sand, good luck. Motorized.
Probably some of the-
Personal
These are all
motorized vehicles.
all the
How
parks,
about
right?
personalized
Correct.
motorized
Okay.
vehicles?
Now, in the actual document here, there are areas that kind of specify like Beach or Snyder,
Yeah,
but in totality, this is for the park system as a whole.
okay.
Section 2.2. Building shelter. Or medical care in order to meet medical needs. Can you repeat that again, Maria?
2.2.
Yeah, 2.2, park property.
Section 2.2.
Section 2.2. It used to say in order to meet their physical needs, and now it's just medical needs, but I think it should be like physical or personal needs. Cause like clothing isn't a medical.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Shelter.
I thought the medical
Patricia-
care in order
This
for
is
medical.
Patricia St. Bill Joseph, Assistant City Attorney. This rule is very controversial, and I'm actually recommending if the board finds it fit to actually repeal the entire rule. You may recall the city was involved in a litigation with Food Not Bombs, and this rule was deemed unconstitutional by the court. I am proposing that we add language to indicate that it's not intended to violate any First Amendment rights, but I think the best thing, given that we're still exposed and given that that order is out there, that you consider actually repealing the entire rule.
So in the amendment, it does say this rule does not have any application to expressive activities protected by the First Amendment. You're saying it
that's
doesn't go
my-
far enough.
That that is my contribution, but actually, you know, I thought about it and I read the order and I mean, the city, this rule is problematic right now, given that the order from the Food Not Bombs litigation. I mean, I'm willing to entertain the board's comments on this rule to salvage it, but
Well, I think what you're asking for is just delete the definition, right?
to,
That second
to
paragraph.
repeal the rule, to remove that 2.2.
Oh, you want to remove the whole rule.
Correct, because there is an order against the city that said the rule is unconstitutional. Because it potentially violates First Amendment rights. I'm not sure if all board members are aware of that case.
No.
It's just the guy was feeding him at the beach.
Correct.
Yes.
And
That order cited the rule 2.2. I thought it was based on the legislation by the council at the time.
excuse me, say that again, I didn't hear.
Wasn't the lawsuit based on like the ordinance by the council at the time, not rule 2.2 specifically?
No, it does address Rule 2.2.
It does.
Yes, I mean, I can forward that order to the board.
Can I ask about the
2.2 is
details of the case? What exactly were they? filed a lawsuit?
Well, yeah. In some, it's basically a group that was feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
In parks and other areas of the city.
Okay.
And they were cited and the police, of course, stopped them
Mhm.
and they sued the city.
Really?
We won the city won in lower courts, but they appealed and then we lost an appeal.
That'd been very expensive.
Very expensive, yes, and that's the concern that I have. That's the concern that the entire office.
So what harm is it in just not having it?
Excuse me?
What harm would there be in not having the rule?
I don't, of course, this is, you guys are the Parks Board and we're willing to listen to you guys, what kind of recommendations you would have as to why we shouldn't repeal the rule. So,
Real quick, I know that 2.2 we've used in some of our trespass letters for the charter vessels at George English
Mhm.
for conducting business. So I know this is cited, so I don't know if we would be okay with repealing it as a whole, because I think we've actually been using that, citing it for that, a portion of that, part of that reason.
I feel like the first part of 2.2 could stand in favor of deleting the second part, where it says as used in, where you define what social services is. I think that's where you get
I would agree
into
with that.
the sticky part by identifying what those are. But if you have social services, it also seems more broad too. And it still goes back to you need a city permit.
And maybe retitle it uses rather than social services.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Like not city
Seems like there's a lot
mandated
of
uses.
verbiage
maybe.
behind there that
Yeah.
leaves you open to interpretation.
So I appreciate you bringing that up.
right, so
But I-
basically you're suggesting removing or social services, just leaving for business purposes unless authorized pursuant to an agreement or.
I think the first part I heard was 2.2, we're renaming to uses. Is that right?
Yeah. What did you say? What kind of
Yeah.
uses,
Yeah,
Mary?
Just saying, call it uses.
Uses.
I like
Instead of-
that. Yeah.
So buildings and other property, all park property, facilities and equipment shall be used for the purpose for which it was designed.
And then delete the second.
And then
Paragraph.
delete where it says social services, yeah, parks.
Kind of defines it, okay.
Parks shall be used for recreation and relaxation, we keeping that sentence, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Which
the beginning of
sentence?
2.2 makes sense.
We'll keep this sentence, a park shall be used for recreation and relaxation, ornament, light, and air for general public, and then continue with parks shall not be used for business or this is the part I'm stuck with, Mariana, or what?
Unlicensed charities, I
Social
mean,
services at the beginning.
don't you have to have a permit to do that?
Or other services,
Under thinking.
It's
other non-city. I mean, it all goes back to the
unpermitted.
city,
I mean,
yeah, it has to
you
be
could say
permanent.
unpermitted.
Or maybe it just parks shall not be used for business unless authorized.
Unless authorized, yeah.
Unless authorized.
Right, that's what I thought
It's already there.
you proposed earlier, to remove or social services.
Yeah, it was both.
Yes.
So it was
Did you
the
say
title social
business or
service
charity?
and then remove
But,
where it
but
says
just.
park shall not be used for business. and then
Purposes.
remove For social services.
No. Well, my understanding is parks shall not be used for business
Oh,
purposes unless authorized pursuant to, because we
Yeah.
do have certain events or
Mhm.
agreements or things
Right.
that we engage or we accept from third parties or private parties. So we do allow certain businesses to
Yeah.
hold events, so.
yeah, and that's through
Do
here.
they need permits to do
Other
that?
similar non-recreational.
Or you could just say park shall not be used for purposes on other purposes unless authorized. That you can have it for recreational and any other purpose has to be authorized.
So I think it has to say, business should stay
Okay,
because we're dealing with that.
other
Every day.
purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can put other purposes
Yes.
as a business.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
it's for
is that
business
acceptable
or
to you all?
other purposes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Will you read back what you?
Yeah, get rid of the word.
Okay, what I heard was, we're changing the title to uses. And then well, we're deleting the second paragraph altogether, is that correct?
Yes.
So
As
the
used in
entire-
herein.
okay, so now it's titled uses, and then it's parks shall be used for recreational. Well, recreation and relaxation, ornament, light and air for the general public. Parks shall not be used for business or
Other services.
others.
Other purposes. We're saying other purposes.
Right.
Or other purposes unless authorized pursuant to a written agreement with the city or pursuant to a city issued permit.
I think that's
Does
correct.
that work?
I like that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Sold.
Group project done.
Yeah, the social services is problematic because of. the
Yeah, I like
lawsuit.
changing
Can I
that.
read that back? to you?
Another reading,
Yes.
I kind of
Oh,
another reading.
went off at the very end. Parks shall be used for recreation and relaxation, ornament, light and air for general public shall not be used for other purposes unless authorized.
parks.
Parks
Yeah.
shall,
Should not be used for business or other purposes.
unless authorized pursuant to a written agreement with the city or.
A city issue permit. You're welcome.
Are there other areas that were,
Well, and also you're redacting the second.
And then you
It's
read
deleted
that
in its entirety, the second paragraph.
After 2.2.
where it says as used herein, that all of that gets deleted.
Goes on. Thank you.
are there other pieces of the rules and regulations that are like, that have been a lawsuit or anything that's helpful to know?
No, not that
I didn't see anything that looked like it.
Not.
The other stuff is kind of like deterrent.
Right, the other.
Discouraging
yeah,
people from
what
living
we've
in a park.
attempted to do is, myself and staff, our goal was to reconcile the rules with the code. So the other stuff, other than this one, which was, that's why I jumped in, problematic because of the pending, well, not the pending lawsuit, the order. The rest of it is just trying to clean it up and reconcile it with the code sections, because we don't want the rules to be inconsistent with the code.
That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for that clarity.
In point 1B, that R that was added, like dogs on Riverwalk are subject, technically it shouldn't be there because it's based on a prior exception. Like it's just.
Which one are you talking about?
4.1,
B.
letter B. Thank you.
The CC, it's dogs on the beach, comma, subject, they should mirror each other.
I didn't understand.
So you said dogs on Riverwalk.
Oh,
See where the
on
added
River-
R
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Oh,
because you can see and read the intro.
oh, yeah.
I got one more item to, just to inquire about here. I see, golf carts specifically mentioned in reference to, Oswald Park.
Where?
It's 2.5, but under motorized vehicles, it's not under there. And I'm just curious, I mean, is that something we should add in there? Because I had brought that up in the past that, people are using the jogging paths, golf carts, and they're driving through. surprised that they have mopeds and ATVs, which I've never seen in there, but they don't have golf carts specifically named under motorized vehicles. Is that, I mean, is it legal to drive golf carts in the park?
Yeah.
I don't.
I jumped over to
2.5.
5.6 and but I mean, it specifically mentions golf carts in 2.5,
No, it doesn't.
but it,
No, it says golf
Golf
activities.
oh,
Golf
But it
activities
does
may
say
only
that
take
it's 7
place.
golf activities, my bad.
7 for him, you're right.
In the sand, so.
Right.
So technically, it should be in Jeopardy. Right now.
Okay.
Other than.
Yeah, I just saw golf carts. I don't know, golf activities.
Oh, yeah, golf activities.
Mine should be in golf activity.
What we're saying is in 5.7, where it says mopeds and ATVs, it should say including golf carts, mopeds and ATVs.
If, I mean, it sounds like they're not allowed. I just have, that hasn't been
Sure.
clarified to me.
No,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Because you know what?
Because
It
it's not in
wasn't-
there.
People didn't really have golf
Right.
Yeah.
carts like they do now.
Yeah, I
And
do think we need to spell that out. It says no motorized vehicle. That
Okay.
includes a golf cart.
Correct.
They're just saying including these two other types.
if everybody's good with this.
Yes, you could do that. Unless people, I don't know, unless people are looking for specifically most of the agencies, what can I do? I don't know how these labels.
I'm sorry, are you suggesting deleting?
The suggestion would be maybe for 5.7, amending the title instead of saying mopeds and ATVs, maybe mopeds and other motorized vehicles. So that it better matches the sentence that follows, no motorized vehicle, including mopeds and ATVs
Because we want
is allowed, so that that would encompass golf carts. Because they are also motorized vehicles, without having to list every
Yeah.
motorized vehicle that's
Exactly.
out
You know
there.
What's gonna come up now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No segues.
What about scooters?
Electric bikes.
Yeah.
It's
Kind
motorized.
of under that.
electric's
Yeah.
motorized,
But yeah, I
So it
think
covers
it's
a
more
lot.
comprehensive if you just say motorized vehicles and
yeah.
without getting into specifics, because then just blanket
Anything
coverage.
motorized.
Well, I mean, they have electric bikes. Is that a motorized vehicle?
Yeah,
I
electric
mean,
bikes,
you can really start splitting hairs on that, you
Or
know?
even like 5.7 and 5.8 could just be combined. It
Yeah.
solves the issue.
EVs don't have motors in them.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. And I thought you do unauthorized motorized
Because it
vehicles.
says or other non-licensed motorized vehicles.
Yeah,
So if you just combine 5.7 and 5.8, I think that solves the problem.
so was there a need to pull out for the public a label that said mopeds and ATVs?
Maybe there's some park
Carl,
out
are you aware
there.
of that?
So are very old, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
They,
I agree
I'm
with
sure
you,
a
added
lot
that
of-
to.
they predate both Colin and
Okay.
Tanya.
So I agree with Mariana's suggestion to delete 5.7 and or combine it with 5.8, right? Do you wanna
Yeah,
just
I would
delete
say-
5.7 and 5.8?
so you're suggesting it reads, no motorized vehicles are allowed to be operated off any road or upon any designated bike path within the interior of parks or other non-licensed motorized vehicles,
Or none other, yeah, yeah,
period?
and that sounds good. And then deleting 5.8,
Okay.
that is repetitive.
So would 5.9
We're
include
likely-
like waxing your
we're
car?
likely gonna need
I've seen a lot of people do that, bringing their car to a park, you know, to have shade,
Mm.
wax a car.
And bring it back.
Yeah, maintenance,
Maintenance falls
is
into that.
prohibited in parks.
I think it's
except
more
for
for like
repairs
people
or
changing the
maintenance.
oil and
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
like that,
emergency
you know?
maintenance.
It's okay
Yeah,
for
vehicle
car.
maintenance is
Yeah, I
waxing,
mean-
so that's already prohibited. Like waxing is vehicle maintenance, you're protecting the paint
Okay.
with that process. So I think that would be covered, motor vehicle maintenance is prohibited, they shouldn't be waxing in the park.
But I mean, I think the average person,
Great job.
that would sort of be a gray area. Well, I'm not really saying car, just
They
waxing
didn't-
my car.
They are maintaining, they know it, if they don't want to understand what maintenance means, pretend that they don't, but that's why they're maintaining the paint finish. That is the whole point of the waxing.
I think you guys did a really good job with this.
Yeah.
I know it was a big task we were all worried about, and I think having it, suggestions already in there, and being able to just pick the ones we need to address is great. So I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
I second that.
Indeed. Well
So
done.
hopefully in another, I don't know, 10 years, we'll visit this again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, gosh, no,
Ever,
no,
ever.
that doesn't exist.
Is to allow.
Yes.
It was like. We didn't.
With 4.1B, you all are suggesting we delete
4.8.
we delete R, correct?
Just the added word are.
Yeah, okay. I'm just clarifying, yeah, it's.
There was in one of our meetings, we clarified the dog beach, the canine beach, to allow hours broader than what was originally prescribed, because the original hours prescribed were due to the permit, regulation, whatever lifeguard tower, nothing that was monitoring.
Sorry.
But basically, kind of being moved since that wasn't. So everything-
No, I know.
So can we just, I mean, can we?
Yeah, I'll look at that, but I think you're right. Yeah, because I remember that too. Yep.
Which one are you talking about?
Caleb, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
4.1. The canine beach hours. At one point, we had discussed here in the Parks Advisory Board meetings about eliminating that restriction because it was due to an antiquated permitting system that was no longer in use anymore, and there was no reason to regulate the times that way.
Agreed.
So with removing the time, does that mean you can bring the dog to that part of the beach any day of the week?
That
Anytime.
was any day of the week and open times of whenever the beach. is
It's open.
Yeah.
One from an enforcement perspective, that's kind of what we're doing anyway, right, Carl?
Not necessarily.
Are they enforcing those hours?
So
They-
when we used to issue dog permits, it was enforced, but now they haven't been enforced because we don't issue any more dog. permits.
Yes, so let's still.
I would, yeah.
There otherwise.
So when I'm at Fort Lauderdale Beach at that spot, that's where we go all the time. We thought it was a dog beach. And we go, people don't honor the time, but they do honor those days of week. We haven't not
Was it at the
anywhere
Dog
else. I'm not
Beach or
South Beach,
elsewhere?
at Dog Beach. We're
Okay.
only at Dog Beach.
Yeah.
So at Lifeguard
Yeah,
Station
yeah.
16,
That's
right?
north
Right across
Sunrise,
from Parks. Yeah, you know, like the sunrise across from Parks and
Yeah,
Ocean.
exactly.
Yeah, so during the week, we would go after and not see it. Our concern is we have a dog, we take our dog to the beach, like, are there gonna be dogs all the time?
Yeah.
Which is annoying, versus like, oh, Friday through Sunday, you just know it's like that time
Yeah.
at the beach.
So what I'll do is, and
But
all
it-
of these comments have been good. We'll, Stephanie and I'll clean this up. We'll email it to you all, and then at the next meeting, if there's no other comments, you guys can recommend approval for them, and then I can put them on. agenda.
And to clarify, I'm okay with removing the time. I just like the idea of keeping the date and see what happens. But if there's a clamor or greater interest in having dogs 7 days a week, when the when the beach is open,
Saturday and Sunday.
yeah.
Why do we have to have a restriction on how many days or the
Right.
days? I mean,
Because
why can't it be all week?
Because it's volume of people.
Because it's
on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
But they're allowed on-
But they
Yeah.
don't stay in that, just like the whole
Right.
pickleball, they don't stay in that, they don't have them on the
Only
leash,
during
they don't pick up their poop.
5 to
and they don't
9.
stay within 100 yards.
Let me
They
just
go
try
all the
that.
way up to
Same thing with
past
Swedish
Monty Brothers.
Yeah, I gotta read.
Yeah, some head south, but
14.
We need some direction.
No, that's actually
No,
13. It's
13,
13.
yeah.
The board members. do
I
they
agree
want
with
the
removing
rules
dates
stay
because-
with Modification of the dates and times, or do they want to repeal it altogether?
That's-
Can you put
I-
that-
My move
Yeah.
would be to repeal it altogether, and the reason, the rationale behind that was. At one point, we were looking for a dog park in Central Beach area of Fort Lauderdale. The land's not available, the action's hard to take, so the discussion was potentially, at least it would be an augmented location where. If we expounded out the times more, it would give a venue or a place for dogs to be able to take. Recreate, et cetera, et cetera. The question quickly became, why were those restrictions there in the first place? And the restrictions were only there in place because that was an old permitting system where they sold and issued a permit tag to people to be able to monitor their dogs, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that we're not monitoring anymore, the
Right.
permitting factor of it is moot. The rule is moot in my mind. Why not let people recreate with their dogs at all times in that location on the beach and designate it as Canine Beach? It makes no sense to keep restrictions on it for something that we're not monitoring. But that's my take.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Caleb was saying, and we started having the conversation down here, but I want to make it clear, as far as keeping the dates and time, I agree with getting rid of the times and getting rid of the dates, because in the summertime, like I was going down there on a Tuesday with my kid and being able to just go to Park and Ocean and then with the dog and then jump in the water. So if you're limited to those days, I think, you got to remember those days in the summer that we do have off with our family and the dogs, and keeping the dates could be inhibitive in that respect. Nobody's monitoring, why keep the dates? Yeah.
And I misunderstood when you said repeal, I thought you meant the whole thing, not that would still be the designation of the Canine Beach. So I'm in favor of.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere on the beach. I love my dog is the best.
Yeah.
Everybody else's dog are terrors.
We have
So-
Canine Beach, but we just don't have.
Okay.
a regulation as to when you're allowed to use the
Yeah.
canine.
I'm in favor of that. I
So
thought
we
it
need to
was-
just remove number 2,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Number 1 already says. Beach.
Yep.
Okay, so we're repealing, for my own edification, board members, are we repealing number 2 also
Yes.
in its entirety?
Yes.
Yeah. No times, no dates.
So my.
The big win. Dog.
is, if you want people to follow this, so it just says Tower 16. So I'm a new resident. I just moved in. I want to know where I can take my take my dog. And I look up the park regulations and, okay, I could go to Tower 16.
I think if you look it up
Where-
online, it's.
Well, then you gotta do another step. Why not just put that it's near whatever street or it's north of Sunrise?
There's a sign and everything. I mean, I think it's a thing.
No, but if you haven't even gone to the beach yet and you're going, like, why not make it easy for people to follow the rules by giving them?
Yeah, they're all. every
Like
town-
north of Sunrise
every town-
Boulevard.
guess because I
Yeah.
walk by there all the time.
Yeah, we can do that
Where
like.
it is.
Like, if you're going to
Well, I-
parks,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes,
are these-
towers are.
Just
Go down.
Carl, are these rules posted on the website?
There's all the towers. are
Yes, they
They
are.
are.
Okay.
And it's
Is
real
the,
cool.
Google, it's-
Dog
It's
Beach
really- it's
individually,
Yeah.
And there's also
listed
beach
on the
camp.
website? Like if people go on the
There's a section
website
for dogs.
and they say, well, I take my dog to the beach,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
it's
one's
labeled
all
on
the way
there,
down
pretty,
by South
Yep.
Park.
like it tells you exactly where it starts and exactly where it ends, right?
I'm just
Yep,
going by
and
the
it also tells you other
Then
places.
you have to
Yeah,
put a little
like,
bit in it,
yeah.
then they have to do a little.
I mean, I'm
bit.
not
There's so much
opposed to putting that
spoon
in the
feeding.
rules.
Yeah, we're not going to-
But
I'm just making it-
Already
Let us
posted, I
take a
don't know.
drive down there when it.
Yeah.
it's
I think it's
week.
okay.
Beach.
Yeah.
People seem to find the beach there with their dog. Oh, I see them all the time. It's fine.
And Miami Beach, I don't think Miami Beach is lifeguards in Newport. I don't know how you find
We're all numbered.
it. Yeah.
We're all good. Not dogs.
So with those changes, do we need a motion to approve these or?
No.
No, he's
Well,
not gonna take
today's,
it back.
today's goal is to get your feedback. We'll clean it up,
Final
bring it
draft.
back. Well, I think, Carl and his team will, publish it to you all prior to the meeting, so you can have an opportunity to make additional comments before the next meeting. Maybe we got some of the edits wrong, you can correct us. And then, at the next meeting, the goal is for you all to take a vote on the final rules, so we can present them to commission for approval.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Good edits. Any other change? Oh.
You did good.
Thank you.
Any new business concerns?
Speaking of the beach, that parking lot, it's been under construction. Was it Alhambra or just right up against, not Birthday Park, but the.
It's just south of Sunrise.
Yeah, just south of Bonnet House, been under construction, it's sitting there idle for 2-3 months, like nothing's going on.
So I think that's a TAM project, and I am not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure on the latest.
I mean, it's just,
Weren't they gonna put a fire station?
Yeah, a
there?
temporary
Is it
fire
temporary
station.
Fire station.
And the trailers are supposed to use,
Yeah.
are being used somewhere else. So they haven't gotten them yet, so they're sitting, that's the last thing I heard from,
oh, I thought it was gonna be additional beach park. It's not additional beach park.
I don't know, I just right now, they want to take the other fire station in Sunrise apart. They're supposed to move to this temporary thing, they can't move there because the trailer is somewhere else.
Gotcha.
That's as far back as I know the story.
I got two questions before we adjourn. I'll just spit them both out. Curious about the status of the DC Alexander Park. I see they're moving along there. And two, we were supposed to get ACOM to kind of do a little presentation on, what's going on with the joint use parks and all that. And I think that might have been the meeting that we got canceled. I'm just curious to know if they're willing to come up and do a little.
They're willing to come. The only thing that I caution, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, is that whenever they come, that is a cost.
Yeah.
So that's also the reason why we started sending out the summaries,
Mhm.
so that you kind of have a status update of where
That was
things
good,
are.
yeah.
And this keeps us on track as well.
I'm fine with a summary. I mean, if they've got something big that they've done.
Yeah, they just get expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because earlier today, I met with them at the tennis center to go over some design plans for tennis center, and it's, they have to run their business too, so.
Yeah, 3-4 guys doing $400 an hour and.
You meet with them, you hear that little clock in the back of your head.
It's just, we already tight on the budget, and every time I see them, it's just.
Some of this time I thought was included in the contract, though. I mean, don't they?
So there is a set amount of specific things that they are to do, but anything outside of that.
Mhm. Okay.
Well, as long as the summaries keep coming, that's great.
Yeah, though they're helpful for me because we've got so many different projects coming down the pipeline, and kind of understanding where they are, and where they're held up in permitting and so forth and so forth helps me. We'll keep those coming, and in future meetings, if there's anything like specific that you have concerns with, them prior to the meeting, shoot me an email and I'll give the answer and relay that.
DC Alexander, is that on schedule?
As far as I know, it is. I actually drove by there earlier this week. And it makes something.
They didn't, no hangups, no surprises when they start digging.
Well, at one point, there
Getting burial
was a challenge
ground.
with some of the underground utilities,
Yeah,
but I think we've moved past that.
okay.
Is the Native American statue gonna stay there?
It's gonna stay.
Is it? One point, I think I heard it there.
Contract.
Yeah, at one point, it was.
That's gonna stay.
Showing Sarah on the beach,
I'm just thinking,
August 14th.
what a big win for dog owners that tried to follow the policy before.
Yeah.
Now they,
Yeah.
Are you adorable?
no, I just am really happy for all those who own dogs.
That was a Monday, so we were in violation.
Lucky there's
Not
no
anymore.
enforcement there, right?
As a board, we received a thank you that should be passed along to Mary Ann before you arrive.
Yeah.
For-
Well, try and thank everybody for your gift and appreciate it.
No idea what they're saying.
She's just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for leading that.
Any other business to discuss? Nope. Unheard, I move to item 4, adjournment.
Second, third, fourth.
All in favor?
Oh.